Hello and welcome to Muddy Boots Herbalist. Why am I out in the herb garden today? Well, you might remember that in my Mailbag Monday German loot episode, I mentioned that I brought back into the country some incredibly strong German vinegar, what the Germans call Essigessenz, vinegar essence, which is about 5 times stronger than normal British domestic vinegar. So I thought it was time to try some experimentation, and on suggestions from some of my YouTube subscribers, I thought it would be worth trying to make some herbal vinegars with both normal bog standard British white vinegar, which is about 5% acetic acid, and with the German Essigessenz vinegar, which is 25% acetic acid. And I threw it out to the community and asked what kind of things I should make with the two vinegars. Deb's Cook suggested that I should try dandelion roots and rosemary. Green Man, Mauve, recommended I should try roses. And I think that's quite a nice spread because you've got bitter, aromatic and aromatic. Those are the kind of things that might extract quite well in vinegars. So I think that's what I'll do. So what I shall do is I will gather some nice, lovely, fresh rosemary, and I will take it into the dispensary, and we will start our experiment, our journey with herbal vinegars. I must admit this is something that really is quite new to me. In 3 or 4 years of medicine making and practice, 3 years of practice, 4 years of medicine making, I've never really got around to playing with vinegar, or herbal vinegars. They're one of those things that just doesn't seem to do it for me. I like my vinegar on my chips, not necessarily in my herbs. But due to economic reasons this year, I can't afford an order of grain spirit, of raw ethanol. So I'm actually trying quite a few different methods of extracting herbs that don't come naturally to me. So I think the vinegars is going to be one thing I will have to explore with quite some depth, really. I did also find a British company, well, a British supplier of German goods selling Essigessenz. The link down here on the screen for anyone that wants to try making their own super strength herbal vinegars. Like I said, it's interesting stuff. It certainly is very strong, and because of its strength it should have a much better preservative action than normal white chip vinegar. So I do invite you to try buying some and having a go at making stuff with it, and I'd also be very interested in you sharing the results with me as well, and then we can collaboratively see what's happening with this stuff. Right, that should be enough rosemary now. Not a huge amount, but we don't need a huge amount for small quantities. I shall take inside the dispensary and we'll have a play with. See you inside. So, back in the dispensary, we've brought in our fresh rosemary leaves, and we've also brought in chopped dandelion root. This exercise has reminded me of the utter futility of actually gathering dandelions, or dandelion roots. If you dig them up in the wild, you'll find, or if you don't have a very good fork, you'll find that you get about 1.5 inches of nubby little root, and the rest breaks off in the ground, which is brilliant for the dandelions, it can regrow, but a bit annoying if you're trying to make anything with the roots. I mean, how do other people manage to harvest dandelions? Do you let them grow big enough in your veg patch to dig them up, or has everyone just got really good soil, or do you grow them in sand, or what? I think I'm going to actually start growing mine in sand buckets, then I can just tip the buckets out and harvest nice, hopefully long and clean roots. I think that's going to be the way to go in the future. Anyway, so we've got our rose petals, or rose buds, our rosemary and our dandelion roots. And what we're going to be doing with making these herbal vinegars is we're going to use a method called the sealed simmer method, which is based on making a decoction, but the decoction vessels are sealed jars which are boiled in a double boiler, or they're boiled in water with a rag underneath them to make an impromptu bain-marie for about half an hour, and that gives you a nice extraction that has a qualities of a decoction without hopefully losing too much of the volatile compounds that the herbs you're extracting might contain. This method is ideally suited to glycerites and vinegars, really. You do not want to do this with tinctures because alcohol has a high enough vapour pressure that you'll blow the jars sky high. And as for water, well, you might as well just do a decoction. But for vinegars and glycerites in particular, this is a very good method. And for anyone who wants to learn more, I highly recommend getting Thomas Easley's fantastic book, The Modern Herbal Dispensatory, or Dispensatory if you speak English, sorry. Really good value book, really huge amount of information in there, certainly on the hands-on pharmaceutical side of things, and very inspiring it is too. So heads up, go and buy it. I have to apologise for sniffles. I'm a herbalist with hay fever, and walking out through grassy meadows digging up dandelions is a bit of a challenge for this time of year. So we're going to seal simmer our dandelion, rosemary and rose petals, and see what we come out with, and you'll have a taste test from me, and we can see what effect it has on me. I do excuse me, I do add that I did the roses on another video, or at another time, and I'm going to edit the two together so you can get both processes and both reactions. And I will cut down the rose video slightly because I've repeated myself quite a lot on the method, but I thought this would be a better video doing it fresh and in the flesh. So let's get the double boiler out and have a go at the sealed simmer extraction. So what I've got in this pan is a cloth on the bottom of the pan, and then I've filled water into the pan above it. The logic for that is that the water acts like a thermal limiter. It stops the temperature of whatever's placed in the water going above 100 degrees centigrade, or 212 Fahrenheit for the Yanks. Basically what it's doing is water boils at 100 degrees or 212 Fahrenheit, and anything that's placed inside it can't go above that temperature. So it's a very effective, very simple limiter. This is the principle that bain-marie works on, exactly the same. The only thing you've got to remember is you can't touch the bottom of the pan or the sides of the pan, or else the temperature would rise out of spec, which is something that people often forget if they're doing this at home. So what we'll do, we'll label each of these jars for which one's Essigessenz and which one is vinegar. Else I will forget, and it'll be a bit pointless. I'm not doing any fancy measuring, I'm just literally filling a jar with roots and covering it with whichever substance I'm using. Yes, I could be a deal more precise, but hell to it. This is an experiment. So that one that's gone in now is Essigessenz. This one here is normal chip vinegar, well, white vinegar. Sourced and sprayed on in the UK. So those are the roots in there. We'll pop the heat on and we'll turn our attention to the rosemary. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to leave those simmering for a few, what do we say, few minutes, half an hour, and then I'll come back to them and open them and see what we found. I'll strain off and see what we found. The one comment I'd make about Essigessenz is I'm going to pop the lids, well, any kind of sealed simmer extraction, I'm going to pop the lids every 10 minutes or so just to see if any pressure has built up, and to let it off just to make sure that nothing unpleasant is going to happen, but it shouldn't. So I shall again pause the tape and come back to you in half an hour, and we'll see where this has gone. the sealed simmer extractions have been bubbling away for around about 45 minutes, not terribly heavy, and now it's time to filter them out and see what we're dealing with. And yeah, we'll try the rosemary first, I think, or I'll filter them down in separate bottles and then do a separate tasting clip, I think. And I'll actually have it aimed at my face so you can see just what reactions I'm exhibiting. Ooh! Ooh! My goodness. The rosemary vinegar smells absolutely lovely. Very much like fresh rosemary. Ooh! And the Essigessenz smells like vinegar. Okay. Now, I condemn myself to my fate testing these things. So, back from infusing the vinegars in the sealed pots extraction rig, the vinegars have been sitting for about 35 minutes, something like that, and have already certainly changed the colour of the fluid in the Essigessenz and the vinegar too, I shouldn't wonder. What I'm going to do, as I'm curious to know if there's any perceptible difference, is filter out both into a bottle, and then when that's complete, pour an equal amount into a measuring cup and see if the colour's different. Smell like. For those of you playing along at home, almost boiling 25% acetic acid is pretty pungent on the nose, and is certainly not recommended. My goodness. Wow. By God. Well, I can't exactly do scratch and sniff TV here, but by God, that smell. Right, now the first thing I'm noticing is that the white wine vinegar infusion is significantly paler. I also think it's swelled the roses a lot less than the Essigessenz. I'm not sure how, but I think I'm going to get a much better yield off this for some reason. I'm going to go and play the tapes back now and see if I did actually put in 150. I think I did, of each. Have I miscounted? Surely not. Beginning to doubt myself now. Right, so we'll decant out, call it 15 mils of each, and see what we've got. So that's the white wine vinegar there. And here is the Essigessenz. There. So, very clearly the Essigessenz tincture, the Essigessenz extract, which is in my right hand here, is darker. Okay, so that's the moment of truth. It's like a mixture of a fish and chip supper and rose tea. It's very delicate. Very, very obvious that it's rose that we're dealing with. And vinegar's not terribly obtrusive. Good. Let's try the essence. Oh, I'm for it. every single small cut or graze in your mouth, you'll just find it if you taste that stuff. The vinegar is, the Essigessenz is very strong. So what I'm getting from that is that the white wine vinegar has brought out an extraction that's almost like a tea, really, very gentle, very light, and the Essigessenz has made something that's almost like a mixture of tincture and battery acid. Bloody strong, very, very sour, very acidic, well, very acidic, it's not got a high pH. Subjectively very sour, shall we say. So yeah, I think in terms as a medicine, we've got different things here. I think that the white wine vinegar extract has brought out more of the aromatics, more of the gentle notes of the rose, and I'd say that the Essigessenz has brought out more of the almost bitters, probably some of the polyphenols and some of the more heavier molecules. Probably the more cardioactive constituents that roses contain. Because I mean, people always think of hawthorn as being the heart herb, but all roses, all in the rose family, do contain cardioactive and cardiotonic compounds. I like both, but I like them for different reasons. I like the gentleness and the delicacy of the white wine vinegar extract of the rose. I like the Essigessenz for its strength, its bitterness, and its probably medicinal strength as well. Could I see myself taking the Essigessenz? Probably not. Could I see myself taking it in part of either tincture blend or liquid herb blend? Possibly. We already know that the rose Essigessenz blew my brain out, and we already know that the rose vinegar was a bit more delicate than the Essigessenz and was a far better representation of the plant we extracted. What we don't know yet is how that applies to the other two I've just done, and this has the nice advantage you can see my face and see just how foul the Essigessenz may or may not be. I do have a cup of tea on standby here in case this really is foul. So let's try the rosemary first. Smell wise, bit spicy, bit pungent, that could be the vinegar. Smells very much of rosemary, almost like you would expect from a Sunday roast. So let's have a taste of the raw vinegar. Quite aromatic, quite pleasant, not overly strong, not particularly bitter. Let's try the, make sure it's all gone and clean the palate. Let's try the Essigessenz. Oh, bloody hell. A lot more bitter, a lot more pungent, obviously a lot more vinegary. Still aromatic, but it seems to me that the Essigessenz has extracted much more of the bitters from the rosemary. Wow, that tastes medicinal, shall we say, and very, very pungent. Definitely one to dilute in the interest of health. So the dandelion, this is going to be fun. Dandelion root. We'll try the vinegar first again and see what gives. Am I pouring myself 5 mils? That's rather optimistic. Yeah, that's certainly bitter. But it has the character of the dandelion. It has the... there's no other taste really apart from dandelion. The slightly bitter, well, very bitter, slightly malty taste to it. It tastes like a good but weak representation of dandelion, so let's try the Essigessenz and see what happens. He says pouring out the remainder of the vinegar into the compost bin. Okay, Essigessenz. So I commit myself to this. Oh. Oh. The only way I can describe that is if you took the taste of dandelion, the archetypal taste of dandelion root, the quite rich, quite malty, quite coffee-y, quite cocoa-y, thick kind of taste, and remove the bitterness from it. So, with the rosemary, the Essigessenz had extracted more bitters than the vinegar. With the dandelion root, it's the other way around. The Essigessenz has extracted the bitters less efficiently, it seems, and more of the other compounds in dandelion root, and the vinegar has extracted more of the bitters and the sour taste. That's really quite confusing. So in terms of chemistry, I don't know what's going on there and what's happened. I'll cleanse the palate with some tea. Oh, that's better. I don't know chemically what's happened, but it suggests that... Let's think of the chemistry. Trying to remember my chemistry of bitters here. I'm wondering if the acid's actually extracting glycosides better. Bitter glycosides. That will fit with the extraction of the bitter tastes from... No, it wouldn't. It's the other way around. Dandelion root contains glycosides, bitter glycosides, and the rosemary, the bitters come more from the aromatics as I understand it. So that leads me to believe that the Essigessenz has extracted the aromatics better than the bitter glycosides. That doesn't make sense because in the rose the aromatics were extracted worse in the Essigessenz and better in the vinegar. So on balance it's a bit of a mixed picture. Yeah, I'd certainly say that the Essigessenz extracts are more intense apart from the rose. The vinegar extracts are more intense there. But for the rosemary and the dandelion root, the Essigessenz was much better extraction. And I'd say that the Essigessenz dandelion root vinegar has more potential to be used in other ways apart from the obvious as a laxative. I'm thinking here about dandelion root's inulin content in particular, and what roles that has on blood sugar regulation and immune function, and so on. Who knows? Whether it's extracting the inulin is a different matter. It's extracted something different than the normal dandelion root, because it really isn't that bitter. So, food for thought. But yes, what we have found from this is the extraction profiles. Excuse me. The extraction profiles are different between vinegar and Essigessenz, and that varying the amount of acetic acid in Herbal Aceta does have an effect on the character of the resultant brew. Food for thought, and maybe someone else wants to take it further. Maybe someone else has other suggestions for me to try with this. I still have not one but 2 bottles of Essigessenz left from the German trip, and maybe someone has a suggestion for what I can do with them. Keep it clean, guys. Anyway, as we say on Muddy Boots Herbalist, well, I do wedding. See you later.